On tonight's show, we are going to go over last call for your printed copy of the Idaho Freedom Index. I'll tell you where you can get that. And in case you haven't heard, Elon Musk bought Twitter. In honor of that, we're going over the Idaho Freedom Foundation's best tweets, at least from the last month or so. It's all on the way on Steph Lucas Live. Welcome back to Steph Lucas Live. It is nice to have you on tonight's show. I thought we'd go over last call for the Freedom Index. In case you didn't know, the last, month since the Freedom Foundation Idaho Freedom Index came out. This has been the scene at the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Last I checked, it's still happening. They've been working overtime and overnights just to get out thousands upon thousands of copies. In case you didn't know, Wayne Hoffman sent out an email today. You may have received that if you're on the IFF's mailing list about your last chance to get those copies of the Freedom Index. You can request those at idahofreedom.org. Now, of course, you can always look online on their website and get Freedom Index scores, but it is always a little nicer if you have that printed out. Also, Dustin Hurst, very busy. I haven't seen the guy in a month. In case you see him, with a huge CVS receipt of postage. That's actually Dustin Hurst. Very busy right now getting the Freedom Index out there. So, what are we talking about with the Freedom Index? Let's go over a little bit of that. We have the Idaho Freedom Foundation on Facebook and Twitter putting out information about exactly what the Freedom Index means. Red. Usually that would be a bad. Okay. That supports bigger government, higher taxes, and more programs. Yellow, we're talking about this is a person who votes for limited government sometimes, but occasionally supports less freedom. Green, this person regularly and proudly supports freedom and limited government, and this is scores for all of them. Several legislators, though. I have their scores here. Here's an example of red. We have District 26, Senator Stennett, an F. Representative Burns, F. Representative Sally Toon, F. Now, no surprises here. They're all Democrats. But as I've gone over on the show recently, there are quite a few Republicans who actually vote like Democrats. Case in point, according to Freedom Index, we have in District 3, Senator Peter Riggs. Says he's a Republican, Steph. Well, I know. Not according to the Freedom Index, right? Based on the metrics that the Idaho Freedom Foundation scores of these bills and the bills legislators vote on, he's got a 46%. That's a pretty solid F right there. So congratulations, I guess, Senator Riggs from District 3. But let's look here. We have two Republicans, Representative Ron Mendive. He's got an A, according to the metrics that grade bills that this man has voted for. Representative Tony Wisniewski, solid A there, almost 96%, according to the Idaho Freedom Index. Now, if you think this is fun, just imagine having an entire booklet of this. Hand it out to your friends. It'll be a lot of fun. You want a copy of that, you just go to idahofreedom.org and request that. And then it's going to be on to the next project for the Idaho Freedom Foundation. What are those other projects? I'll let you know when we get to. In the meantime, I thought we would have a little bit of fun tonight. It's always fun, of course, talking about the Idaho Freedom Index scores. But there's this whole little thing about Elon Musk buying Twitter. And I thought, this is, of course, I think, good news for capitalism, but that's not what the IFF is going to be talking about, particularly is what's happening with Twitter. They're all about Idaho Freedom Index scores right now. They're trying to get those mailed out. So I thought, well, just for fun, let's pull some of the most recent Idaho Freedom Foundation tweets and go over these because they have been fun. And there's another reason behind this, guys. I've had a lot of conservative friends that have not been on Twitter, and I don't blame you for it. Oftentimes, it's a cesspool of very angry, upset liberals. About 90% of the tweets, I believe, are written by about 10% of Twitter users. And they're really liberal. This is according to several different studies. So a lot of conservatives avoid it like the plague. I get it, but now I have conservative friends. And people, of course, who love liberty saying, well, I opened an account on Twitter. It's been fun. It's been good. Okay, great. If you really want to have fun on Twitter, follow the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Here are some of their tweets. Let's talk about this one from April 8th. What does this say about big business scorecards then? Yikes, right? They retweeted a tweet from Idaho House and Senate Democrats on April 8th. And the Idaho House and Senate Democrats are touting that all Democrats received 100% or higher on Idaho Business for Education's 2022 Idaho Legislative Scorecard. Idaho Business for Education. The name there should tip you off. It's a lot about big business and big business meddling in education. It's pretty liberal as far as scores go. What's my proof? Let's move on to this. Here we go. So, Idaho Freedom Index, as you know, or maybe you don't, but now I'm telling you, Representative Heather Scott scores like 100% on Idaho Freedom Index, okay, for several years now, I think. What is her score with Idaho Business for Education? 20%. Now, let's see. We have Representative Sage Dixon. He's scored well with the Idaho Freedom Index, but with Idaho Business for Education scorecard, a 40%. Jim Woodward here. 100% Idaho Business for Education. I know he has scored pretty lousy on the Idaho Freedom Index in the past, so that's just some of my research. Very easy to do, by the way, to show you that those who often score well with the Idaho Freedom Index, with supporting liberty, less restrictions, free market, they do not do well with big business and big public education. So that is one of those tweets from the Idaho Freedom Foundation. Let's move on to this next tweet. This is a good one. Oh, this was yesterday. How delightful. You knew I'd bring it up at some point. Take Back Idaho. Now, this is a play on Take Back Idaho. That's a political action committee, and they are very much against freedom and minding their own business. Basically, their entire, what the French would call, raison d'etre. Okay, the reason they exist is because they don't like the Idaho Freedom Foundation. That's it. That's their hobby. Take Back Idaho. So Idaho Freedom Foundation for the establishment. Take Back Idaho. See, it's a play on that. But that actually is their logo for Take Back Idaho. I checked. Okay. I want you to remember that. Here's the tweet. Idaho Freedom Foundation says, Take Back Idaho to return power to rich lobbyists, establishment insiders, and government bureaucrats. Apt name. Well, that's one of the tweets from the Idaho Freedom Foundation. As you can see, it got some comments down there. When you get in on Twitter, you can't be middle of the road. You got to get in there and mix it up, or you just got to sit back and observe and say, go get them, right? We would prefer that you mix it up and get on there and say, hey, I'm following the Idaho Freedom Foundation. I like them. Okay, that is my appeal to you. Really, on Twitter all the time. You want to see some action. Idaho Freedom Foundation gets these Take Back Idaho types so stirred up. It's hilarious. I check in at least once a day. And of course, Idaho Freedom Foundation defends their turf very well. So if you want to see that, yet another reason to get a Twitter account. Let's move on. Oh, we want to talk about Take Back Idaho. So this tweet here from Idaho Freedom Foundation. Remember that one. If you get on Twitter, okay, it'll send you a link to a recent op-ed by Idaho Freedom Foundation on who is Take Back Idaho? Who are the people behind the logo? Remember that logo. Again, we're going to address why I want you to remember that in just a moment here. Let's talk about what Take Back Idaho is. Here's some talking points. Idaho Freedom Foundation, recent op-ed. Take Back Idaho. Who ran off with it precisely? Exactly who are you taking it back from, guys? Well, Idaho Freedom Foundation would like you to know the Take Back Idaho PAC wants to take Idaho back to a time when freedom wasn't of importance to state lawmakers. Not very long ago, my friends. They want to take you back to when special interests got their way with few questions asked. This was at a time before the Idaho Freedom Foundation came along. This is back in a mythical time called like 2008, you know? And ever since the Idaho Freedom Foundation came along, the suit after that, well, lawmakers started getting asked questions. They've been very upset ever since. If you are a lawmaker running for re-election and you're performing poorly and people are asking you questions about your positions on bills and the issues, that lawmaker will inevitably write an op-ed criticizing the Idaho Freedom Foundation. It's one of the basic laws of physics. Let's move on. What's the secret recipe for the con job from Take Back Idaho? Idaho Freedom Foundation points out it's very simple. Okay? You run as a Republican. Just put that R by your name. You claim you're a conservative, right? You vote for pro-life and pro-Second Amendment legislations. You're saying to me, well, now, Stephanie, how can that be? Oh, trust me. Those are the two big issues. And I've said before on my show, and I'll say it here, of course, pro-life and pro-Second Amendment are very important issues. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there are other issues, right? You got to get into the nitty-gritty of what's happening with these bills in the legislature. You got to get to the nitty-gritty of what's happening with taxes. You got to get to the nitty-gritty about what's happening with education. And that is what Idaho Freedom Foundation does. They deep dive into these bills and tell you where your money is going to go with it. Tell you what's going to happen if a certain bill is passed. Okay? These are all the ingredients that make up the Idaho Freedom Index. So like I'm saying, there's other issues out there. You need to see it all as a whole, not just two pieces that are important. Don't get me wrong. Pro-life, pro-second, those are important. There's a much bigger picture. That's where the Idaho Freedom Foundation breaks it down. Now, back to the con job. Tip number 1, 2, 3. I think we're on step number 4. After you vote for pro-life and some pro-Second Amendment legislation, so you can send out a little card in the mail to everyone that says, guess what I did? I'm pro-Second Amendment. Then you criticize the most leftist national Democrat you can find. In this case, Kamala Harris. Yes, I mispronounced her name on purpose. And Joe Biden. Okay? You criticize those guys. You say, look at what Joe Biden's doing in Washington. Look at what Kamala Harris is doing in Washington. Look, what a shame. In the meantime, they're over here, like, look over here, look at Joe Biden. He talks to giant bunnies. And then they're here at a state level taking all your money out of your wallet, right? That's how that works. It's very easy to do. I know. And they do it. Let's move on. In the meantime, basically, I covered this already, but vote for bigger and bigger government. While you're saying, look at Joe, he talks to giant bunnies. They're over here voting for bigger and bigger government at your expense. Families, churches, charities. And then you collect campaign donations from leftist organizations and political action committees. Perhaps like Take Back Idaho. I believe they are a political action committee. And then, boom, final step. You get reelected. Follow Idaho Freedom Foundation for more tips. I would also like to add 2 points that were not covered in this article. One point is you steal your logo for your favorite PAC, Take Back Idaho, from the Idaho Potato Commission. This has been around since I was a kid. Look at that. Do you see that down at the bottom? That's an R. It does not stand for Republican. It stands for, I believe, registered trademark. But you can make it recognizable, of course. Let's take a look. Oh, look, there's Take Back Idaho. Look at that. Idaho Potato Commission. Huh. It's a strange coincidence, but you do you. Take Back Idaho. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life or run your PAC, because we at the Idaho Freedom Foundation believe it's a free country, and we will defend you. We will defend you and your right to basically make fools of yourselves. We're fine with that. Not only do we give you purpose and reason for existing, we will also defend your right to make an absolute fool out of yourself. We're about nothing but freedom here, baby. Even to those who don't like us. Much like Elon Musk says, hey, I hope my most ardent critics stay on Twitter. It's all about freedom of speech. But moving on. More tweets. Where are we at? Oh, this reminds me. Your next, the 2 things I wanted to bring up. Of course, you find a catchy logo that just is so similar to something that's been around for decades. And then you put on a cowboy hat. Now, I love cowboys. They're terrific people. I just noticed in Idaho, there are an awful lot of people in politics who aren't particularly cowboys, but they will put on a cowboy hat for a political commercial. Have you noticed that? I don't know what it is. It's just so like, oh, well, if I put on a cowboy hat, people are going to forget everything that happened with COVID. They're going to see that cowboy hat and they're going to say, wow, That guy is one of us. That's the mentality. Put on a cowboy hat. I wonder what real actual cowboys think about that. Not ones who are in an office all day, of course. Just a question I'm putting out there. You and I will discuss it some other time. Well, speaking of guys who like to put on cowboy hats just for the cameras, we have the Idaho Freedom Foundation's April 25th tweet. Swamp monsters stick together. This endorsement surprises exactly no one. I wasn't surprised. Were you surprised when Governor Little endorsed Scott Bedke to be Idaho's next lieutenant governor? Were you? I wasn't. I don't suppose we'll have a chance to ask Brad Little about it at the big debate that he's not going to do. Really disappointed about that. Let's move on. Another tweet. This is a good one. This came out a couple days ago. Why do I like this one? Well, they retweet Anna Miller there from the Idaho Freedom Foundation. They tagged her in it. That's another thing you can do on Twitter. You can tag Idaho Freedom Foundation. I'm sure they'll get a hold of you. But anyway, Anna Miller from Idaho Freedom Foundation tagged in this tweet. This guy has a lot of followers, this Christopher Rufo. What? This tweet is essentially about what's happening with social emotional learning as a delivery mechanism for critical race theory. Teachers, of course, publicly saying that's not what they are doing. Now, as I brought up a whole month ago, when the Accuracy in Media video clips came out, we'll get to those in a minute, I pointed out that Anna Miller at the Idaho Freedom Foundation was already talking about this over a year ago. Well, they reference that article on Twitter, and I have a link to it, so you can follow that. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Do we have this video? I know, I just can't play it enough. It's so fun. Accuracy in Media explaining how critical race theory, diversity, equity, inclusion, what have you, the triumvirate of wokeness, diversity, equity, inclusion, it is now taught as social emotional learning, which Wayne Hoffman and Anna Miller were warning people about for at least a couple of years by what I've seen. Let's go ahead and play that.
Race theory is incredibly divisive and incredibly unpopular. It started out in higher education, but now parents across the country are fearful that the racist, Marxist tenets of critical race theory have found their way into K-12 schools. In response, politicians in 7 states have banned critical race theory from being taught to children. A dozen other states are considering doing the same. But as we discovered in our investigation in Idaho, simply banning critical race theory isn't enough to stop the unaccountable bureaucrats of public education.
There's that. Accuracy in Media also threw these clips on Twitter. So yet another reason for you to join Twitter. Let's watch this video they put up.
So that dumb new law doesn't mess with you guys?
Not yet. No.
Social
emotional learning. We can't say that here anymore. It's mental health.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
No, we did have a big...
They already came for it.
We already had a big blow up with that.
So we still do, we just call it mental health.
So it's just, our mental health curriculum.
Okay.
Who's against mental health curriculum? Not me.
Right. Nope. If you are, then that really... There's a real issue.
Then you need mental health curriculum.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make that transition to, no,
That's probably a bad word to mention here, too.
It's all mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just all the different words you have to use. And of course we don't do C. We don't. So, yeah.
Yeah.
We're just learning how to worm around all of those weird things that are out there.
It's all about mental health, trying to worm around all those things out there, like parents actually having control of their children's lives. You won't find that, of course, on Twitter accounts for the Idaho mainstream media because it plays against a narrative that critical race theory, it just isn't happening in Idaho. You will find clips like that on the Idaho Freedom Foundation website and, of course, Idaho Freedom Foundation's Twitter page, right? Because we like to post things that the Idaho mainstream media will not. So I'm still trying to convince you to get a Twitter account and follow Idaho Freedom Foundation. Let's find another tweet. Next one. I like this so much. This one's sassy. I don't know who tweeted it, but I have an idea. Before you think Idaho Freedom Foundation goes after just Democrats, here's what they said to the Idaho GOP April 18th. They said, you guys can shut your pie holes too. Are you serious right now? We had a $1.9 billion surplus, and the best tax cut you could muster was a measly $250 million in ongoing relief. Get out of here, right? And they retweeted Idaho GOP saying, hey, today's tax day. Don't worry, the Democrats will never let you forget it. Average American household, blah, 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 blah. Good for us, right? What Idaho Freedom Foundation is saying, guys, you voted for the stupidest, measliest tax cut. And you're bragging about it, right? So that was at the Idaho. I'm telling you, it's lit. Let's move on. The Democrats. Like I told you, Idaho Freedom Foundation on Twitter. We are equal opportunity. I wouldn't say offenders, but we'll call out everyone that, of course, goes against the principles of freedom and liberty. Democrats, right? So here's what the Idaho Democrat Party tweeted out on tax day. At the same time, the Republicans, Idaho GOP, were like, rah, rah for us. We cut that income tax by 0.5%. Like, okay, it's $250 million. Thanks. $1.9 billion surplus. You used $250 million of it. Where were we? The Democrats, let's talk about them. So here's what they tweeted out. I believe the one with the horse feeder mask there is Lauren, the feed bag, the one there. Oh, no Kachia. Okay. So anyway, there's a picture of her. Remember when the Idaho GOP said they'd repeal sales tax on groceries under the tax plan? Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. Yeah. So the GOP, the conservative wing of the GOP, wanted to repeal that grocery tax. I believe Representative Ron Nate got up every morning during the legislative session and said, hey, permission to pull that. Let's propose we pull this out of committee. Of course, he got shut down by Bedke every time, but he still did it, right? So let's stop blanketing the GOP here, Democrats. But the Idaho Freedom Foundation has a different take here. They said, though we will point out the GOP could have done both, instead, Governor Brad Little spent like a liberal and made it rain for almost every government agency. That's why we couldn't have both. But you knew that. That's a good one. So Idaho Freedom Foundation after Idaho's Democrat Party and Idaho GOP. What else do we have for you? This is good. So has it been a whole 2 weeks since we got into the whole who's going to debate and not brouhaha? I explained this on the show last week. Governor Brad Little does not want to debate because he says his record is non-debatable. I beg to differ. Everything is debatable, sir. Wayne Hoffman pointed that out as well with a few succinct examples of why Brad Little needs his record questioned. But what we have here is a blanket statement, as were from the Idaho media, blaming everyone who didn't want to debate for various nefarious things. Now, again, we pointed out Brad Little doesn't want to talk about his record because he doesn't want to talk about the past. He wants to put on the cowboy hat and everyone forgets about COVID. That's the strategy, right? Bringing up Priscilla Giddings, Wayne Hoffman pointed out Priscilla does want to debate. She never said my record isn't debatable. She just says I want a free, a fair forum. And I want it to be fair, right? Wayne says clearly that's not going to happen with Idaho's media. Leftist bias. Here's a tweet, April 18th, about that. They retweet Idaho Ed News. This is a headline I certainly took issue with. Idaho GOP need only look back to know that public debates is the foundation of our democracy, etc., etc. I said, again, you're blanketing the entire Idaho GOP. This is not... There's plenty of people in the GOP upset that Brad Little doesn't want to debate, but they're making a big blanket statement. But Idaho Freedom Foundation points out they love to see this. Liberals are big mad they're not going to get to lob biased questions at quite as many candidates this year, right? Press corps getting what they deserved. And as I said last week, it was a time for self-reflection for Idaho's legacy media. Are they going to do it? No. According to them, it's the conservatives who are wrong. And on we go. Next tweet. Here we go. Regarding the same thing. And he checks in. Idaho Freedom Foundation checks in a week later. And they said it's a solid line of questions to call out two reporters, Davlin and Russell, are accountable too, retweeting the Idaho GOP. The Idaho GOP checked in a week after. We're curious if you found a Republican to serve on your panel for the Republican primary debates. Excellent question. Of course, Republicans will select a Republican nominee in the closed Republican primary election. Why is this a leftist-run debate? And you can't tell me everybody in the Idaho press corps is unbiased and right down the middle. Wayne Hoffman already pointed that out like a week ago. Go find that op-ed on idahofreedom.org. Very good. Moving on, I believe we have one more tweet. It's a good one to close with. We have Daniel Waters here tweeting out why Elon Musk destroying Twitter will be good for journalism. Spoiler alert, because then the journalists will get off Twitter because they're all so hurt. They're just going to leave. Leaving Twitter, getting your feelings hurt because Elon Musk bought it, is the new I'm moving to Canada if Donald Trump wins. Okay, they're not going to do it. They're just going to linger around and whine, but it is the new I'm moving to Canada. Fine with me. I'm here to watch it happen. So Idaho Freedom Foundation tweets out about journalists leaving Twitter. Sure hope so. A big win for humanity. And that was just a couple of days ago. Of course, as the big news drops, that Elon Musk bought Twitter. So there you have it, my friends. Look back over the last month or so, of Idaho Freedom Foundation's tweets. Follow them on Twitter. You'll be able to find them. A pretty easy platform to use if you'd like to follow us there. Of course, you are going to get updates on what's going on with the Idaho Freedom Foundation, all its other happenings, and you will be informed if it's your last call to get that Idaho Freedom Index. And it is the last call to get the Idaho Freedom Foundation Freedom Index. I know that because I got an email from Wayne today. I said, well, I better bring that up. So if you want to get that, go to idahofreedom.org. Look it up, and you can get a printed copy. Yeah, it's fun to look at it on social media, and there are some scores on Twitter, but it's really good, easy reference if you actually have that in a printed copy. Lots of information there. So we'll be happy to provide that. Visit idahofreedom.org. Ask for your copy of the Idaho Freedom Index. There's a look back at some of the tweets from Idaho Freedom Foundation over the last month and a half or so. It's been great having you along. Hope to see you on Twitter. And hopefully I'll be back next week on Steph Lucas Live. Primaries are coming up fast, guys. It's going to be exciting. We'll see you either next week or on Friday, all right? On Steph Lucas Live. Have a great night.